Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers Optimus Prime issue 25. Bumblebee gets his face plastered on a NASCAR, and IDW cancels UK Classics volumes. Are you fucking serious, IDW? What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't you know how many of us have been clamoring for this damn book? What the... Today's Friday, November 23rd, I guess, 2018, and this is episode 104 of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks for nothing, IDW.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that is sad about endings, but looks forward to new beginnings. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how you doing?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
I hate to see you go, but I love watching you leave. Let's talk Transformers.
Daryl likes those big booty Transformers.
Too creepy?
Not creepy enough, Daryl.
Perfect.
All right. So we mentioned this in the main transmission show this week. We did want to just mention the comment on the passing of Stan Lee last week. Since Alt Mode is our comics and media show, Stan Lee was a big guy in comics, so just wanted to mention that. You can listen to the main transmission show to hear our, our little bit more of our thoughts on Stan Lee. He did tangentially touch on Transformers since Marvel did have a big hand in creating the Transformers mythos. So farewell, Stan Lee. Our thoughts go out to his family. Another thing we mentioned in the main show is our friend of the show, Jimmers, and his Electronic Saviors albums from Distortion Productions have reached a big milestone, donating over $70,000 to cancer charities, and are expanding to donate to mental health and suicide prevention charities. In particular, just Respect the Prime, the two releases of Respect the Prime raised $12,000 and $15,000 all on their own. So that's awesome. And if you want to, you can buy that new album, Constructed Cold, the Constructed Cold EP. That is out right now. You can get it from Distortion Productions. You can either get it digitally or CD release. Now, we don't have any new donations this week, but I believe it's today is Black Friday, so there's a Black Friday sale going on at our merchandise store that is powered by TeePublic. So, Jeremy, tell them about that.
Yeah, so everything on TeePublic is 30% off right now. So it's, I guess, the rest of today, and then Sunday and Monday for Cyber Monday. This everything is 30% off. If you go to transmissionspodcast.com/shop, we will get affiliate credit for anything you buy on the store at all. But if you want to buy stuff on our store, we would like you even more than, just buying anything else. These make great stocking stuffers, and I think they look great. We've had a number of people in the last week buy some shirts, and we really appreciate that. And I will be adding a few other kind of Transformers or holiday themed shirts to our storefront that we think are fun. So just check them out. And yeah, TeePublic's been great. So, support them. They do good work.
All right. And with that, let's get into the show, starting with some comics news. So first up, we've got an official Bumblebee movie prequel comic convention exclusive. So there's the Bell County Comic-Con is getting their own exclusive variant for the first issue of that Bumblebee miniseries that was written by John Barber and drawn by Andrew Griffith. So it was Barber and Griffith reuniting on movie-based tie-in Transformers books, which is where they got their start. Bell County Comic-Con is going to be August 3rd and 4th, 2019 at the Bell County Expo Center in Belton, Texas. But you can get the cover in theaters on the opening weekend of Bumblebee the movie. So it's a little weird that they're offering this convention exclusive cover about 9 months before the convention. So
yeah, well, it's limited theaters, so
yeah,
not sure
Limited
where.
to Texas.
probably.
This is going to be coming out like the limited series is over.
Yeah,
They're bringing out this #1 cover during like December, and then the Comic-Con isn't until August of next year. So, I mean, I understand them bringing it out during the Bumblebee movie to capitalize on the hype. It's an odd choice, though. I definitely agree to that. But it's a cool cover. I mean, it's very dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm thinking that someone missed a deadline for the 2018 Bell County Comic-Con, and this is, I guess, a holdover that didn't make it into this year's show for whatever reason. It's a little weird, a little odd.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good cover.
How are you going to sell this in the theater, though?
It's probably just one of those things that they are giving away. Like when you went to see The Wizard, you got a little custom Nintendo Power.
I guess you better bring your own bag and board if you're getting the comic at the theater. It'll be covered in popcorn and soda at the end of the movie.
Yoshi will get it. He's like, wait, what? This isn't Aquaman?
All right. Next, we talked about Hero X, the company that's doing Japanese language editions of Marvel comics, and they have announced that they are doing a new edition of their Transformers Generations book, and this is coming out on December 10th. So this is not, I guess, directly a content for the comics, but more it's like a compilation of the toys that come out in that year, and then concept art, and maybe a reveal of upcoming Masterpiece toy that'll be out next year. So there's always something interesting in these Hero X Generations books. So we'll look forward to seeing what they are. But yeah, that's December 10th. So I'm sure TFW will have pictures of it that day. So next, some sad news. It looks like the Transformers UK Classics Volume 6 that we just Yoshi just talked about last week. He asked James Roberts about whether it was coming, but looks like it's not coming. So apparently IDW has canceled it, and that probably means we're not going to see any more UK Classics volumes, at least for the foreseeable future. So it's a little disappointing. I mean, I know James Roberts was probably a little bit preoccupied with his main comic series, but I think he wanted to get a lot of bonus content for these UK Classics volumes, but he just took too long, I guess. I don't know. And maybe there's just not enough demand for these books. It's a little sad. I mean, especially for us in the States who don't really get access to this content. And also with the I guess the UK market has their definitive G1 hardcover series that also collects these comics. So maybe that's eating the IDW market. Next, we have an interview with Tom Scioli on his upcoming GoBots series. So this is with this is with Freak Sugar, freaksugar.com. But the GoBots #1 is out this week. We did get some review copies, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting new take on GoBots. We'll have a review eventually. I know Jeremy's really interested in reviewing this.
I'm really interested in making Daryl read it.
When are we going to review it?
We'll tell you that day.
Yeah.
I'm away.
In a future alt mode.
Yeah, so this is so Tom Scioli also, he talks about in this interview about how with the GoBots he had the opportunity to really have a completely blank slate because basically no one cares about the GoBots. It's not like they care about Transformers, so you don't have to contend with all the lore that Transformers has a lot of baggage. With GoBots, you can pretty much create everything from the ground up, and no one will or very few people will get upset with you. So that's what Tom Scioli did, and I think the result is pretty good.
My quick review is, if you're expecting, or if you're turned off because of the craziness of the Transformers versus G.I. Joe, it is way scaled back. I mean, it is his art style, which, you can have your issue with or not, but it was a very easy to understand story, very linear. You could tell what was happening, so I enjoyed it.
All right, so that is all our comics news, and we will move on to our comic review. All right, today we are reviewing Optimus Prime number 25, the final issue in the IDW Transformers Continuity. This issue is titled Post, which is appropriate since it's the aftermath of the whole Unicron debacle. Written by John Barber, art by Keizama, colors by Josh Burcham, letters by Tom B. Long, editor David Marriott, and publisher Greg Goldstein. We have 3 covers. The first one is by Keizama and colors by Josh Burcham. This is an homage to the 25th anniversary, Marvel 25th anniversary covers that were produced in the 80s. And it shows all those covers showed all the Marvel superheroes along the borders, and this one shows all the Transformers characters throughout the Optimus Prime series in the borders, with Optimus Prime in the center. Cover B is by Casey Collar with colors by John Paul Bove, and that's Optimus Prime in the foreground with images of several supporting characters, like in shards of glass. Oh, they're parts of the Autobot symbol. So yeah, that makes sense. just saw that. And cover, the retail incentive cover is by Andrew Griffith, and it features all the prominent characters from Robots in Disguise, in particular Optimus Prime, but we've also got Metalhawk, we've got Marissa Fairborn and Thundercracker and Doc, and Starscream and Bumblebee, Prowl and RC. In the background, the big combiners, Devastator, not just Devastator, Prowlistator, and Victorion. So, Daryl, which of these 3 covers is your pick?
Well, first of all, I got to hand it to Keizama. I don't even want to attempt to count the characters on this page. This is insanity, what she's drawn here. And good work on Josh for coloring them all. This is incredible work. And yeah, like you said, the homage to the Walter Simonson 25th anniversary Marvel covers, that's seen here. We definitely were trying to figure out which cover it was, and then we realized it's all of them. They were all the same. So yeah, it's well done, Kay. But my pick is going to be the Casey Collar cover. It's simplistic. It shows the characters that were a big part of the Optimus Prime series, and with Optimus in the foreground and the busted Autobot symbol in the background, symbolizing that the Autobots kind of
their reign of terror.
Yes, yeah. No, they're just the whole ideology is kind of broken at this point. It's yeah, I like it. It's very cool.
And Jeremy, which cover do you like?
I think the Casey one is excellent, and I like the symbolism. But I think I'm going for the Keizama. It's like she saw how many characters Alex was putting in on his. Which one was it? Was it the Lost Light one? Yeah, and she's like, "Hold my beer," or "Hold my Guinness," and it's just like, I don't know. It's great. And we looked at one of the ones from the 80s, like the Walt Simonson one. And yeah, that's got a lot of characters and stuff. But these days, the art style is so much more detailed. And to maintain that level of detail while you're still packing in all these characters, and you can look and just, pick a section of it, and you can make out all the characters and you know who they are. They're colored great. And it's just like, I'm so impressed. It's just so much work. And, I hope we get to see her again on Transformers or something else, because, she's so much talent is just kind of coming off of her. So cover A.
Cool. Yeah, I think I got to agree with you, Jeremy. I really like cover A, and for all the reasons you stated, all the detailed character work there. I also like the Andrew Griffith cover just for the fact that it's highlighting the robots in disguise roots of Optimus Prime. So I like seeing Metal Hawk and Marissa Fairborn back before she became the Earth representative and was carrying a pistol, looking a little bit more badass. But yeah, Casey Collar's cover is also really well done. But I just think K-Zama edges it out, and it's really a great achievement. So Yoshi couldn't be here, but he did record his thoughts on the cover for Optimus Prime number 25. So let's hear what he had to say.
Hey guys, so the cover I'm picking for this week's Optimus Prime is going to be cover B, Casey Collar's cover. There's something very stoic, very G1, very how I remember Prime in the face of Optimus Prime that Casey rendered here, and that's why I'm choosing this cover. K-Zama delivered a fantastic, beautiful, super detailed cover that is amazing. Andrew Griffith, his cover is beautiful, but I think it suffers from too ambitious of coloring, I think. But yeah, I almost wish on Casey's cover they had dropped the Autobot insignia, Phantom Zone, shattered image of all the bots behind him and just did black with Optimus Prime there. That actually would have been a cover I would have jumped out and got. I think with the Autobot insignia Phantom Zone effect going on, it just takes away from Optimus Prime, which is who the book is named after. So yeah, cover B, Casey Collar, John Paul Bove.
All right. So it's a split decision. So let's get into the story. So the story alternates between vignettes showing key moments in Optimus Prime's life and other vignettes showing the aftermath of the Unicron battle on Earth and how the survivors are moving forward. The whole book is narrated by Optimus Prime, presumably in the final moments of his life. And we'll summarize the Prime flashbacks first, then the Earth stories. So at the end of his life, Optimus Prime flashes back to his very beginning. He finally remembers the moment of his forging, as he emerged as Orion Pax. Surprisingly, Alpha Trion was there to see him born. Pax also witnesses the blacksmith bot who helped forge him abuse his worker bot, Scrounge. Optimus wonders if this moment, seeing a weaker bot abused by a stronger, drove him even if he didn't remember it. In his early years, Orion Pax joined the Iaconian police force to fight injustice. He trained under the old soldier Cup and worked with bots like Ironhide and Outback. But he learned the system he served was not about fighting injustice and more about maintaining the status quo. He saw this as fellow Officer Outback abused a Jaguar-like bot caught making a graffiti symbol on a wall. Ravage was part of the new group of idealistic malcontents, Decepticons. As Pax rose through the ranks, he became less sympathetic to the Decepticons' ideals, as their tactics led to more bots' deaths. He becomes the abuser, roughing up Decepticon's Swindle after capturing him in an illicit substance bus. But later, he tries to reconcile with Decepticon leader Megatron before they teamed up to bring down the cruel reign of Zeta Prime. But that alliance ended in betrayal and the escalation of the war. Later, when Megatron was captured and imprisoned, and then escaped, Pax, now Optimus Prime, was still hopeful he could somehow reach a resolution with Megatron without more violence. Those hopes were dashed, and the war continued on. Later, the war spread to other planets, destroying other civilizations. Even the Dinobots, some of the Autobots' fiercest warriors, questioned Prime's resolve and whether he knew or wanted to know all the atrocities done in the name of the Autobot cause. Much later, when the war finally ended, Optimus Prime became Orion Pax once again. He was free to find peace and be alone in exile from Cybertron. But it didn't last. He was drawn back to his destiny and responsibility as Optimus Prime, to protect the people of Cybertron and Earth. Even later, back on Earth, Optimus Prime has pushed Earth to become part of the Cybertronian Council of Worlds, annexed as an official colony. And he used other bots' belief in him as a religious figure of the 13th Prime to recruit bots from other Cybertronian colonies to his cause, despite his misgivings. And in the final battle with Unicron, before he leaps into the black hole in Unicron's core, he removes his mask and gives it to RC. He tells her that finally, at the end of everything, he understands. It's not the bot or person that matters, that deserves belief. It's the stories told about them that do. Inside the black hole, Optimus reflects on how the conflict between freedom and unity has plagued him throughout his life. And as he fades from existence, he at last understands. Freedom and unity are not in conflict, not opposites, because one cannot be free until all are. Switching gears to the aftermath on Earth, the survivors pick up the pieces after Unicron was defeated and the Earth was saved. RC, now having a new outlook on life and things to live for, shares a quiet moment with Marissa Fairborn. Jazz oversees construction and repair work with other bots and gives another interview to his frenemy reporter, Sophia Orozco. Brothers Trax and Needlenose seek advice from Pyra Magna, the new mistress of flame, but she doesn't really care if they start a new business selling chic ships. Junkion leaders Rummage and Wreck-Gar reflect on all the people lost in the battle and whether their winning was a Pyrrhic victory. In Africa, in honor of Soundwave's memory, Buzzsaw protects a herd of elephants from human ivory poachers. On a beach at sunset, now Bumblebee is talking to Starscream's ghost instead of the other way around, and Starscream's surprisingly okay with being dead and just being remembered. In Hollywood, Thundercracker's screenplay has been nominated for an Oscar, and he eagerly awaits the winner announcement at the award ceremony. Out in deep space, Aileron captains a ship crewed by Jetfire, Doc, Insecticon Bob, and the Prime Acolyte colonists. She's settled into a new life of exploration and adventure, with frequent trips back to Earth to meet up with RC. Deep in a prison cell, Shockwave is locked up, arms and legs removed along with the possibility of escape. Prowl visits him to reflect on how all Shockwave's decisions led to this moment. In Metroplex City, all major Cybertronian, human, and Elonian dignitaries have turned out to say goodbye to Optimus Prime. Windblade gives a touching eulogy. Finally, the last scene is RC telling the story of Optimus Prime's life to a group of human and Cybertronian children. She smiles, seeing that these young ones are the future, and that they must all share this world together. And that is the final issue of Optimus Prime number 25. One thing I did notice was that on the first page, we have the original 1984 tech spec of Optimus Prime being the largest, strongest, and wisest of all Autobots. So that was a nice little touch I thought they put in there. I also noticed that when they read the nominees for Best Screenplay for Thundercracker, when he's being considered for an Oscar, one of his fellow nominees is Michael Costa. That's a blast from the past. If you remember that was the writer on the previous ongoing Transformers book before Robots in Disguise and More Than Meets the Eye took over. Also, it was interesting to see like the moments of Optimus Prime's life that John Barber decided to put in here, because in particular I noticed, even at the very end, John Barber's patching up bits of continuity, because they chose one particular scene where Megatron escapes from a prison cell, and this is because in the Autocracy trilogy, where you had those were the digital the originally digital only comics, you had Autocracy, Monstrosity, and Primacy. At the end of Primacy, they actually captured Megatron. So at the time, people were like, well, hey, you captured Megatron here, but the war continued on and Megatron eventually escaped. But, having the end of the series end with him being put in prison doesn't really seem to connect with the rest of the continuity. And so John Barber threw that page in here to show, yes, Megatron did escape, and the war continued on. So I just thought that was a nice little touch. Also, I noticed in the page with Orion Pax as when he was exiled from Cybertron after the death of Optimus Prime. In particular, that art, it looked like Keizama put a slightly Nick Roche spin on Optimus Prime's face there to match up with the art from the death of Optimus Prime. So overall, this was a very, I guess, meh book for me. I mean, it's very disjointed and kind of disconnected. Trying to show all these, basically give you it's like 24 pages of individual stories, so it's a little bit weird, but trying to capture everything that's happening with the aftermath, and then trying to kind of put Optimus Prime's whole story in context with that, I guess. So it kind of doesn't work great for me, but the art is really nice. Keizama gets one final full issue to show off her art here, which is really good. And then Josh Burcham's unique coloring is really good too. So I guess that's all I'll say. So Daryl, what did you think of this last issue?
At the beginning, I had a little trouble with the RC stuff, just because I remember the discussion of her being changed to female being done against her will. Now, I haven't gone back to read that book, but since I have you, I can just ask you. Is this all, I think, kind of just making it all work here? Does this single half page contradict the entire RC spotlight?
I think it is. It's pretty much just a retcon to make it finally fit together. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is basically John Barber kind of retconning this explanation into RC. So yeah, I mean, the original Spotlight RC doesn't mention that she felt this conflict and asked G-Axis to help her help get fixed. I mean, it was just G-Axis was experimenting on her and turned her female. That was the extent of it. So this detail is, I guess, filling in that. I mean, just not even filling in a gap, but just slightly retconning it to make it work.
See, I would have rather it had stayed out. This little bit stayed out because it made the it made RC's story much better for me. That the forced operation on her turned her into the assassin that she was, and she was a badass. She was awesome. She was a great character, and then the throwback that we had with her and Galvatron being brothers was a great little piece to that puzzle, and it worked in the Spotlight story. But now to say that, I had this internal conflict and I wanted the operation done, and Jaxus helped me, that kind of ruined the Spotlight for me. Not that it's the best piece of writing ever, but it's just it worked, and it worked for her character for up until this very moment. So I kind of had a problem with that. The going forward, the story, I didn't have much of a problem with the story. I didn't expect it to be, a perfect story. I expected it to kind of check off a lot of stuff and kind of fix a bunch of things. The new Mistress of Flame, Prima Magna, Pyra Magna,
Pyra Magna.
I think this iteration of her is trouble. Anything that would go forward in her story is asking for a lot of trouble. She seems to be running down the path of religious zealot. I don't know. I don't particularly want to read the story because it's craziness that I just don't want. But she seems to be taking the role extremely seriously, and perhaps that's good because the old Mistress of Flame was, she's honoring the memory, but where she is right now, she seems so against it up until this very moment where she's embraced it wholeheartedly with the crown and the cape and no cape, but shoulder pads and a scarf and everything. She's got the whole getup going on, and it seems a bit much, but the future stories for Pyra Magna would be interesting. The other one, when I first saw the scene with Bumblebee and Starscream, my first thought was, oh no, the diamond stuff screwed up this thing. Starscream's supposed to be dead. He's not dead. And then I realized that Bumblebee's now seeing Starscream's ghost. I thought that was brilliant. I thought, what a fantastic way to cap off the ending of the series, with Bumblebee being seen by Starscream for the majority of it, and now it's flipped on him, and I thought that was kind of great. So well done on that one. Thundercracker in the awards ceremony, could take it here or there. He was such a shit writer, so I have a hard time believing he went from absolute shit to Oscar winning in a short amount of time. But he's a robot, so whatever.
I have a hard time believing he didn't crush 100 actors.
This is true.
in the Academy, in the award ceremony.
The image that Kay drew on that one page where Optimus and RC, it shows the face of Unicron in the background. That is beautiful. What a terrifying image of Unicron that is. That's just incredible. Yeah, I want a big poster of that, because that's impressive. The rest of the book, it's nothing overly impressive. I liked seeing Scrounge in it. I thought, oh, Jeremy's gonna love this book because Scrounge is in it. And then at the end, I saw the basically G2 Sideswipe. He's getting featured. He's kind of growing up, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So G2 Sideswipe's a thing, and he's on his way to becoming a full-fledged Autobot kind of thing.
Well, and if you look at her cover, Sideswipe has the bandolier.
Oh, cool. So there you go. Other than that, it was nothing really, amazing. I expected a disjointed story. We never ever do find out the name of the president of the United States, which is hilarious. Yeah, it's fine. It's it's done. It's over. We're done.
Finished.
Well, I guess in this continuity, maybe since if All Hail Megatron happened during the Obama presidency and the president was killed, then maybe Michelle Obama, used that as a way to become president.
I mean, I'm Canadian, but I don't think that's how it works.
She basically used her, her political influence to, take over the reins of, take the mantle of being, that figure of authority, and then people voted for her based on that. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. That's my guess.
Sure.
Doesn't matter because we'll never know.
Jeremy, what were your thoughts?
I enjoyed the book for what it was. I knew this was advertised as the epilogue of the entire series. So with what happened in Unicron with Optimus actually dying, I was like, okay, well, he's either not going to be in this book or it's going to be, scenes of his life. And I opened the book, first page, I see him being forged. I'm like, yep, that's what this is. Oh, hey, Scrounge. So I was very happy. Going on, I liked seeing the scenes of Optimus, throughout his life, but I like seeing the modern day stuff more, just kind of see the state of things. I did wish that we had seen Rodimus's group get back in contact with them, to kind of a little bit more connection to Prowl showing up in Lost Light. I mean, the art is impeccable as always. With the Bumblebee and Starscream thing, I thought that was a nice touch as well. I was a little confused at first because you see them from behind and you see both of them, but then at the end when you see Bumblebee with just one set of footprints, I was like, that was a very nice touch.
Jesus reference.
That's what Starscream saw himself as. That just it was just a very enjoyable, or kind of a very pleasant read. It just, I mean, there was not much to do other than just kind of say goodbye to these characters. And that last scene with RC, I think, was perfect, where she has really been the star of this book, and she finally gets her happy ending. And out of all the characters, if you had told me when the series began, like knowing the state of the characters then, if you had asked me to pick a character that would not get a happy ending, I would have picked RC. Because I was like, surely she's either going to die or, you know, something is going to happen. And she went through a lot with like Sideswipe dying and everything she went through with Prowl in Robots in Disguise and stuff. And she finally got her happy ending, and I thought that was a great way to end it. And another thing with that was you're seeing humans, you see an Elonian in there, the new Cybertronians. It's just like kind of the ultimate diversity with, like, you know, different races. Someone's in a wheelchair, and they're just all getting along and happy.
All right. So those are our thoughts, and Yoshi has also recorded some thoughts on the final issue of Optimus Prime. So let's hear from Yoshi.
So I just finished reading Optimus Prime issue 25 about 10 minutes ago, and my gut reaction is, you know, if the world learned anything from the 1986 movie, it's that you don't kill off Optimus Prime. And IDW did it to us twice. They did it last week with Unicron issue 6, and they're doing it this week with Optimus Prime issue 25. And as I sit here and really think about the story and try to give it a second thought, you know, the entire issue was mostly a flashback of stuff we all knew. I didn't feel like it was a whole lot of new content. There were a couple of things that happened in the flashback that I personally didn't recall happening, but they were like two things, and they were short. And then there was a little bit of stuff of what happens after Unicron is dead and Optimus Prime is dead. You know, I don't know if that justifies the price tag. It certainly doesn't for me. I kind of felt like I got what Barber was trying to finally do with this comic book. We've got a supporting cast of characters who think a lot like me, who remember Optimus Prime as a stoic, strong leader, a decision maker, somebody who gets shit done, someone you can look up to. Everything I remember from my childhood. I felt like that was the supporting cast of this book. And the reality is that Optimus Prime isn't any of those things, doesn't know how to live up to those people's expectations, and is constantly letting everybody down. And that's what we have. We have a guy who, you know, who was a leader, who did everything a leader could do, but wasn't worthy of looking up to, which, you know, in that case, I'm glad you fucking killed him off and it's finally over and we don't have to suffer through this guy anymore, because this incarnation of Optimus Prime is not my Optimus Prime. It's not a book I want to support or a universe I want to support. And I feel like I'm super justified in saying all of this because off and on through the last 5 years, as we've been going through these books, I've been rereading the G1 comics and the G2 comics. And, you know, there's an Optimus Prime I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed, picking up those back issues and going through them. And I did not enjoy this. This was god awful, and thank fucking God it's done. Kei-Zama's art is amazing as always. I kind of feel like in the last few issues, Josh has kind of pushed it a little too far with the coloring. You know, the Kei and Josh team is great. It invokes G2 without being completely G2, and it's been beautiful. It's been one of the reasons why I've looked forward to picking up and looking at Optimus Prime comics, because of their art. But man, Josh went overboard with textures this issue. It muddied it. It took away from Kei. It took away from my joy or what joy I could find in flipping through an Optimus Prime comic. And Yeah, it's fucking over. Thank God. And that's my thoughts, guys. Thanks for hearing me out, and I'll see you next week.
Okay, nothing unambiguous from Yoshi, as always.
So he liked it.
I do have to. I mean, I think I would tweak his point. I mean, that's his opinion, but I think at least reflecting on my own thoughts on how Optimus Prime has been portrayed in these comics, I think it's not so much that he's not a person who should be looked up to. It's more that he was a flawed individual, just like everybody else, and so people ascribed him, larger than life status, but he was trying to live up to that, but also trying to do the best that he could, and yes, failing sometimes, but also succeeding sometimes. But yeah. So I feel a little bit better about the IDW universe and Optimus in this incarnation of Optimus Prime. And, yes, killing off Optimus Prime in the 86 movie was not great, but this is the last issue of the comic series. So if you're going to kill him, you can kill him here. I mean, he will get a new Optimus Prime version in the next reboot. So
yeah, at least he wasn't killed off 4 issues into the, in like 2006 when they got the license.
Right.
Although I don't think he was really introduced until a few issues.
Yeah, he showed up in the 6th issue of the first IDW miniseries. So they had a slow burn. Yeah.
Also, the death that happened last issue in Unicron, it's the same death that happened. He didn't really die in this issue. He was already dead.
Yeah. It's not 2 deaths, you're right.
We can critique him because he's not here.
All right, well, those are our thoughts on Optimus Prime number 25. So this is the final end of the IDW Transformers continuity, so we will look forward to a reboot in the somewhat near future, but still a few months off. So we do still have a backlog of out-of-continuity comics to review. So we've got the Bumblebee miniseries to get back to. We've got the Star Trek versus Transformers, and we've got GoBots. So I think we'll still have some more comics to review in the next few months. So that's it for this week. So let's move on to some Transformers media news.
So in media news this week, we have a lot of Bumblebee stuff. We've got a rating for Bumblebee the movie, rated PG-13. So expect 1 swear word. We have a runtime revealed for Bumblebee, and it is revealed to be 1 hour and 54 minutes. So that's not bad. It is officially the shortest live-action Transformers movie. Every single other one was over 2 hours. So there you go. We've also got a release date for Russia. So Russia is getting the Bumblebee movie, appears to be an entire week early. So funny how that's happening, but there you go. Well done, Russia, getting to see Bumblebee before everyone else. So expect...
Maybe we can have a review from Russian Yoshi a week early.
Maybe. We'll send our Russian correspondent, Russian Yoshi, to go watch the movie, and then he'll rip it for us with his VHS recorder in the theater and bring it over. So, yeah.
It'll be like the Plinkett review of Star Wars.
There you go. Also, we've got a new web-based retro video game for Bumblebee the movie, and it looks kind of fun. So it's been released. It's modeled after PC games of the late 80s with 8-bit sound. It's named The Adventure of Bumblebee. The player must duck and jump through various obstacles to collect fuel, energon, and cassettes. It features Sector 7. The Decepticons Shatter and Dropkick act as the villains for the game. Apparently, is for every 20 energon cubes you collect, Shatter or Dropkick will make a brief appearance. For each 5 levels the player completes, a boss fight will take place between Bumblebee and Shatter/Dropkick. So, Looks kind of fun. If you're a fan of old vintage video games, take a peek and let us know what you think.
If they really wanted to make it 80s accurate, you'd have died with one hit.
True. We've got some Cyberverse news. Episode 12 has been added to the Hasbro's YouTube channel. I took a peek at the Hasbro YouTube channel this past week just to see how region locked they are and how current they are. Every single episode was region locked, so not even the early ones are available for everyone. So Hasbro, your YouTube channel blows, and I'm much more a fan of a Daily Motion now. So if I'm going to view your shows on online, it's going to be Daily Motion. Hasbro, fix this shit. You're a global company. Earth Wars has made available Octone and Sandstorm for the game. So look forward to those vehicles, those characters in the game. They're based off of their Generations character designs. So Sandstorm has got like the Springer design with the tires out the back, and Octone is the newer design. And lastly, this is kind of interesting, not completely unexpected, but seeing as we haven't even seen the movie yet, it's kind of odd. Paramount continues to work with Hasbro to produce Transformers movies, so they must be pretty happy with the way that the early reviews for Bumblebee are coming in. So I guess it's good news. But I'm still personally waiting to see how Bumblebee looks in theaters. There's a real legalese statement here if you want to read it. I'm sure Jeremy will just eat this all up later.
I see nothing about trademarks or copyright.
Damn. It mentions G.I. Joe, so if Bumblebee does well, expect a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover that they've been like teeing up for the last decade.
Isn't Skydance Productions Robert Kirkman's studio?
Might be.
That's Skybound.
Oh. Never mind. It almost got a lot cooler, but then no.
Transformers, G.I. Joe, and zombies.
That would be a good movie, especially if they did a Transformer zombie.
Oh, cliff jumper. But that's it for media news this week, guys. Yeah, getting a lot more closer to the Bumblebee movie. We are pretty much a week away, so expect a lot more stuff to start dropping. The hype train is in full swing from the marketing department, and the merchandise is really starting to get crazy out there. So we're going to start seeing a lot of it.
All right. Well, let's move on to some transforming pop culture.
All right, and just like we mentioned in the previous segment, the hype train has really started to go, and none was clearer in this week's one of this weekend's races in NASCAR, where driver Christopher Bell, who was racing for the championship, adorned his car with Bumblebee movie decals and a giant Autobot symbol on the hood. It looked kind of cool. His car is all decked out like a racing Autobot, and there's a giant picture of Bumblebee on the back of the car. It's sponsored by GameStop, so it kind of makes sense that it's kind of like a tie-in there. There's also a tweet from the driver Christopher Bell where he shows the car getting wrapped in these fancy decals. It's kind of fun to watch if you've never seen a car get wrapped before. It's kind of neat. I don't know how he did in the race, but he's the number 20 car. Car looks good, though, I think.
I just think I'm not a NASCAR fan and stuff, but I really would think it would be neat to see a race and suddenly see a car with a big Autobot logo, and you're like, is this
there you go.
80s cartoon? What?
Hot damn. Got NASCAR. Whole bunch of cars going around in a circle.
Turn left.
Anyway, so yeah, that happened. more hype for Transformers in regular life. So that's it for pop culture.
All right, let's move on to some convention news.
All right. Talking about Hype Train, the TFCon Los Angeles 2019 Hype Train is in full gear. In the last week, since last week's episode, we have an announcement of Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Warpath, Sea Spray, Beachcomber, and Breakdown, as well as Skeletor. We also have Neil Ross, who is Bone Crusher, Crosshairs, Point Blank, Six Shot, Slag, and Springer, as well as Keith and Pidge from Voltron. Michael Bell, who is Sideswipe, Prowl, Swoop, and Bombshell, as well as Lance and Voltron, Duke and G.I. Joe, and Grouchy, Lazy, and Handy Smurf. He will be the one walking around in a jacket with a big Smurf on the back. So if you kind of see him from behind, you're like, oh, hey, that's Michael Bell. Also, Paul Eiding, who was Perceptor and the Quintesson in G1, as well as Roy Campbell in Metal Gear Solid, and I believe he's doing a lot of video game work these days. Charles is his favorite person, Arthur Burkhart, the voice of Devastator from G1 and Destro from G.I. Joe. He kind of adopted Charles when we met him at the last convention.
Still didn't get an interview, but
yeah.
That's okay.
Making his first convention appearance ever, Michael Horton, who was Chip Chase. So all of your, was it Sideswipe?
Yeah, you got it.
No, not Sideswipe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sweet.
He didn't come
Sunstreaker.
with Chip. Yeah, Sunstreaker came with Chip Chase. All of your Sunstreakers where you were like, what am I going to do with this Chip Chase? Now you can get the box signed or whatever. Daryl did some research beforehand. He also was John Jameson in Spider-Man, the 95 cartoon, Tommy Talltree in G.I. Joe, and Rick Jones in the 1982 Incredible Hulk series. He actually has done a number of other things. Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, Hill Street Blues. He's done a lot of live action stuff, plus a lot of voices. He was just credited as a voice in Jim. So it would be interesting to see
two Star Trek movies too.
Yeah, he did. What was it? First Contact,
Insurrection.
First Contact, and Insurrection. Yeah, so he's done a lot of acting and stuff. I'm sure he has some great stories, and it's first convention ever. So they're going to be news stories. So let's just hope that he actually remembers some of the early '80s stuff. That's always the question. So that is the convention segment. It was lots of announcements. I'm sure between when we record this and when it comes out, there's going to be a bunch more. That is the convention news.
All right, let's finish up the show with some feedback. All right, we have a comment from episode 302 on the Lost Light, the final issue of Lost Light. This is from Chad, our longtime Donatreon and frequent Discord chatter. Chad says, I really don't understand how immediately after all the events leading to this finale, how Chrome Dome and Rewind have already forgotten everything about Rung. They were dumbfounded about stumbling across Rung's office. Makes pretty much no sense. It'd be different if it happened in the future, but not immediately after his major contribution to defeating the Functionists. So, how I read this was that in the end of issue 24, when they open all the matrices, that Pulse Wave, I guess, also somehow wiped out Rung's memory from everyone, because it wasn't just Rewind and Chrome Dome; it was everyone forgot about Rung. So I don't know. That's my guess. He was so forgettable that last bit of energy just wiped out his memory for whatever reason. It's very hand wavy, so I don't know.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, like during the series, Freud never forgot who he was. Like when they encountered each other again, he had never forgotten Rung, and that's been like something that's been bugging me since I read the book too.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have expected it to be a more gradual thing where someone brings up Rung and the other person would be like, who? But
right. Yeah. Yeah. It didn't, I don't think it really worked. I mean,
it was just because plot.
Yeah. And just, I mean, yeah, James Roberts just wanted one more bit of tragedy to have the one person who had this message of "Don't forget me," that he was immediately forgotten. So
yeah, like how many times can you kill a single character? Well, it turns out a couple times.
Yep. All right. We also have an email from longtime Donatreon and friend of the show, Duggernaut. Hey guys, with the IDW Transformers universe as we know it coming to an end, I've found myself reading other comics in anticipation of replacing the current Transformers books. I found myself enjoying Bone Parish and Dead Rabbit a lot, and have come to the realization that I like stories that explore gray morals. Thinking about this, I realized that I've always been drawn towards these types of stories, as I was a huge fan of Venom and the Punisher when I was younger. Lost Light 25 finally made me a fan of Rodimus. Let me clarify that I am not a fan of Hot Rod or Rodimus or any incarnation of that character that we know from G1, animated, or any of the comics up until the last couple pages of Lost Light 25. Wow. I have become a fan of future drunk and broken Rodimus and would love to read stories about him struggling to live and work as one of Thunderclash's crew members while chasing his past glory. Now, I really want to read a story about that Rodimus and will probably never get the chance, which is unfortunate because I think that may be one of the best takes on a character that James Roberts has written. Anyway, would you guys be interested in reading a book about a broken character trying to cope with the glory of their past? And what books are you reading now that the current IDW Transformers universe has come to an end? So, I guess I'm not really planning to replace the Transformers books. I think I'll probably just... I do read a few other comics, but not too much. I picked up the Injustice versus the Masters of the Universe books. Those are kind of fun.
Yeah, that's been a good story.
Yeah. I'd read a few Marvel books, but I'm behind, and I've been reading some of the Star Wars books too.
Yeah, I was going to say the Star Wars books, like Dr. Aphra has been real good.
Yeah.
The Darth Vader book is okay.
Yeah. So, GoBots, I'm planning on picking up that, so I'll enjoy that for a few months. We still don't know when the new Transformers reboot is happening, so we've probably got a few months. We've got at least 3 or 4 months, probably more, before that reboot takes place. So my
kind of selfish hope is that they won't announce it till C2E2 in March, because I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
As a Transformers fan, I want them to announce it sooner, but personally, for my own selfish reasons, I want it to be at an event that I'm going to be at.
Well, Jeremy, any other comics you're reading to fill the gap?
I'm not really adding right now. I'm just, my comic budget is gonna kind of, or my wallet's gonna be a little bit happier until the new books come out. I've been reading a lot of the DC stuff. I'm trying to stay on board with the Bendis Superman books, and the most recent one, Superman issue 5, I did a review on Yakko Yak's podcast. That actually was I think the best Superman book Bendis has written yet. And I haven't really been a fan of them up until now, but I really enjoyed that book. Cool. I'm sticking with the DC stuff until Dan DiDio upsets me enough where I do what I did with New 52 and just drop them all.
Well, let's cross our fingers that they fire Dan. I don't know.
He's got something on somebody. It's not going to happen.
All right, Daryl. I know you're already a big comic reader. Are you planning on increasing your comics with no Transformers books in the near
probably
future?
Not. I have. I'm just looking at my current pull list right now, and with the Optimus Prime and Unicron taken off of the list, I'm probably at about 25 titles on my my pull list. So this will allow me to actually catch up a little bit, because I'm way the hell behind on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But as far as independent books, I read a lot of mainstream stuff, Spider-Man, X-Men. I read a lot of that, but I've been reading Image's Die, 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 which I find is kind of fun. and it's uber violent, and it's different, and it's right up my alley. So,
wait, with a name like that, it's uber violent.
Yeah, well, it could be DDD, right? Old Simpsons reference.
That's right. In German.
And I've been pulling Days of Hate also from Image. And let me just, what other, something that's been really a slow burn, but it's been a really interesting story is Low. And it's also an Image book. They're only 19 currently, 19 issues in. And it's been a really interesting story as well. I've yet to read a single issue of it, but I've been picking them all up because I plan on binging them at some point. Is Oblivion Song, again from Image. Most of the stuff I read that's not mainstream with like superheroes is all Image, so that's kind of, interesting how that kind of worked out for me. But yeah, so those are the ones that I'm reading that are not particularly mainstream or superhero-y, but everything else is, either Transformers or Spider-Man, X-Men kind of stuff.
All right, well, that's what we're reading. Maybe we'll get Yoshi to answer this at some point too. But you can check out his Bag and Board show. You can see all the stuff he's reading. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
We're good.
Yeah, no, I wasn't waiting for Charles. I trusted time.gov. I trust your government. Charles is asleep.
Charles?
Oh, no, I was on mute. I wasn't asleep.
Shh, he's asleep.